various, protests against the petrol subsidy removal. As a result of that, we're having harsh economy, and inflation rates skyrocketing. And we've had different protests. Even when we had the pages of the newspaper not quite long, we could see protests in different places, different states of the Federation. And there's need to bring, respite in this direction in order to ameliorate the plight of Nigerians. And that is where we're going to be having seasoned analysts to discuss this, like I said earlier. And starting from my extreme left, I have an economist, lecturer, University of Benin, and he is Dr. Presley Osemige. Thanks for coming, Presley.
Yeah, thank you very much, Philip. Good morning, Nigeria.
And next to Dr. Presley Osemige is a computer scientist, and he is a lecturer at University of Benin, Professor Gospower Ekwobase. Thanks for coming,
Thank you for having me, sir.
And next to Professor Gospower Ekwobase is a seasoned legal practitioner, one-time gubernatorial candidate, Edo State, and he is a public affairs analyst, a social media influencer, and he's Comrade Cosmos Irabo.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, Comrade.
Good morning, viewers.
All right, so let's hit the ground running as expected of us, looking at the challenges we're faced with. Like I said earlier, Presley, we've had different protests cutting across different states, and all are about this harsh inflation that is being hit, that they are being hit by, this whole aspect about the palliatives of the president, looking at the 8,000 naira that we be given to the very poor, or the poorest of the poor. And a lot of people do not agree to this palliative. Now, what do you take as response to all of these challenges that we have faced just now, looking at the President TINUBU'S administration?
Okay, once again, Mr. Philip, thank you very much. I think, what do you expect? And there's a popular saying that goes that a hungry man is an angry man. Now, the mere pronouncement by Mr. President, subsidy is gone, has a ripple effect on the economy. And that triggered a lot of, factors. Inflation was, equally, heightening up. Today, we are grappling with over 22% rate of inflation in Nigeria. Now, let's come to the downtrodden, which is the poor you just referred to. Mr. President, said, according to their plans, that 8,000 naira, be given to the very poor. Mr. Philip, at this time and age, what would 8,000 naira do? Not to just one individual, to a family of 5. Do the simple mathematics and see what 8,000 naira would do to them. I am not saying the policy or the idea of giving 8,000 naira or giving money to people is bad. No. If you are going to do that, you are going to do it in a way that is going to have a lasting impact in their life. Currently, as we speak, 8,000 naira cannot do anything, practically nothing in their lives. Let's not also forget that we have a problem of data. Who are these very poor that we are referring to? Statistics are not there. Even the record they tend to have. There's a lot of argument and debate about the credibility of the record. Some are saying, the very poor are not even there. Now we lack, basic accurate record or statistics to actually have, to have the exact number or the exact people that are poor. Again, in several fora, I think I've listened to people. They said, why is only the poor of the poor that should actually benefit? Personally, I have been eroded, I've been affected by that policy. I should also equally be taken care of. Some people argued and said, oh, you should not be part of it. Why will you be part? Transportation have increased. A lot of things have gone up. In this quagmire, all of us are in this doldrum. So, to be honest with you, the idea of giving money to the very poor is not a bad idea. But to say 8,000 naira, that's when I have a problem.
All right. I think you've said a lot, even as you say, the poor of the poorest of the very poor. Yeah. Outside that, there are also a lot of Nigerians captured in it, that are also facing this challenge, because this policy is hovering on everybody.
Exactly, yeah.
So everyone seems to be affected by this.
Exactly.
Now, what's your response to this?
I was listening to my very intelligent economist, and I could not but laugh. Let us ask ourselves a question. Before the emergence of this administration, did most of us not agree that subsidy was a scam? Almost every Nigerian agreed that subsidy was a scam. If that was true, the three major political presidential runners said that it was a scam. Now, this scam has been removed, just like removing cancer. We should expect some pains. The question I want to ask again is, what is a palliative? Palliative is not a salary. Palliative is not wages.
Okay.
Palliative, by dictionary definition, is something given tentatively, temporarily, to alleviate a pain and not to solve the problem.
Oh.
Check your dictionary and check it very well. That is why when I see very intelligent people, first-class holders, brains, don't analyze issues based on facts. We look at it emotionally. I will begin to wonder, we should not set this country on fire. So, there are 8,000 naira is not a salary to give it to anybody. It is a palliative. Just like if I have malaria, you can give me paracetamol as a palliative. The doctor is not saying that paracetamol will cure malaria or fever. It will help to alleviate the pain. Before the subsidy was removed, everybody was surviving. Even the poor of the poor did not die. They were surviving. Now, they know there will be an immediate pain when subsidy is removed, and palliatives are now being thought of and brought in. And we are shouting that it's not enough. Is that the solution? They did not say it's solution. They say it is what? Palliative.
But who are those getting the palliatives?
Now,
is it cutting across board?
Yeah, we'll come to it. The Nigerian Labour Congress, TUC, are discussing theirs. We all know that salary of workers will be increased and should be increased. And that will have a ripple carry effect on those in the marketplace and others. We all know that some of these poor of the poor that may not benefit, that may never enter transport, that do not enter transport. As I was driving down to ITV, I saw young men and women with cutlass and hoe at Uhun Junction. I saw young men and women carrying this wheelbarrow looking for death cans to pick. These are the people these palliatives are meant for.
Okay.
Now, they don't even take transport. You can see them today, this morning in Ugbowo. I will bet you in the evening you may see them in Ted, trekking around this city, looking for things. These are the poor of the poor. Now, the question we should be asking, is government saying there will be no palliative? Government is saying there will be palliative. And government is announcing that of the poor that don't have union to fight for them, that don't have TUC to fight for them, that don't have NSC to fight for them. And we are saying that it is too small. And the president in his wisdom has said he wants to review it. He has not said it's too small. He has not said it's too big. He's not saying that some of them may abuse the money. Let them make this palliative it's some tangible gifts like rice, beans, to add to it. It can be increased. And one of the reasons, as I was told from the grapevine, where he said he wanted to review it, because they now tied the 8,000 naira to a symbol of campaign. And he wants to review it. That will be reviewed. You see, we should not be too quick at criticism. We should allow implementation go through or almost fail before we start shouting. First of all, we all agree subsidy is a scam. And it must be removed. Now, it will cause pain. As the economy said, there will be some inflationary move. And now, they are saying there will be palliatives. And we should be patient for those palliatives to be rolled out. Even if you are saying 8,000 naira is too small, if you know what is poor of the poor, I want to let he's a very intelligent man, to know that even the cleaners in Uniben are not being paid more than 10,000 or 50,000 naira a month. And we are saying that a palliative of 8 is too small, where people were earning 10, 12, 15,000 and they did not die. Let us calm down. If we say the president should increase, we should increase. But we should also know that this palliative is not all about this federal government. When the IGRA of the country increased to about 1.9 trillion first in the history of this country, they say, okay, I was very happy, economists should agree with me. They saved a portion. They did not share all. And they shared a portion. And now this money was shared about 54% to federal. The remaining 47% went to state and local government. Nobody is holding their state government responsible. Nobody is holding their local government responsible. That they should, where is the excess money you got now in the month of June so that you can carry a palliative? We see what they are doing in Kwara State, what the governor is doing there from the windfall from the oil subsidy removal. So if all state governors are doing it, if federal give 8 or 10 or 15, and state give 5, and local government give 2. Now he raised the issue of data. It is implementation issue. It is not the responsibility of me, a lecturer, to go and identify the poor of the poor. We have voted people into power and let them identify a poor of the poor. And if you now know of any poor of the poor that his name is not on the list, we should come out and cry out. Social media is there. There are no one person in my village, his name is not there.
Is it possible to capture the very poor?
It is possible to capture some.
Because we have just 12 million.
It is possible to capture. It is possible to capture some. And we start from there. We call it seed. You start from there. You see, we should not kill a dream at the beginning because it has not covered everybody. It cannot at the beginning. There will be TT problem. There will be producers. Some will be dropped. Some will be added. More money will come. We will do. But remember, palliative should not last for too long. Maximum 6 months, it should stop. Everything will stabilize. Fuel will begin to roll in. Fuel price may come. Things will be good because a good economist and economy will agree with me. I am a computer scientist. I have the knowledge literature because I'm into services computing. That a market-driven economy where demand and supply drives market is better and more stable than a socialist economy that Nigeria was almost strangulating the country where we subsidize virtually everything. And that was making the rich to become so rich. And the poor are not even having a benefit for infrastructural benefit. So we should calm down and we should advise and educate the masses correctly, intelligently, and not from their emotional perspective. I will look at it from the rational perspective, from the expert perspective. And I will not scratch my body the way it's just scratching me. Because I know that this crash is temporary.
Well, there's an adage in that in our local...
I don't want to go there.
Yes, you don't scratch your body. It scratches you. Otherwise, it becomes
so that with time, let us calm down.
All right. You said a lot, but I don't know, before the pendulum swings to Comrade Cosmo said about, you have reactions.
Yes, exactly. I think my prof, with all due respect, misconstrued, what I said.
Oh.
The question you asked, the palliative. I actually make allusion to what I said on the basis of whether it was enough for family of 5.
Okay.
I didn't say that palliative, is not good, like what Prof tend to think that I think. Number 2, Prof, I don't know if it is the same market that the same poor of the poor that Prof made allusion to, that all of us, go to on a daily basis. Okay. Because I know I'm coming. I know the prices of things today. Believe you me, I know 8,000 naira cannot and will not sustain a family of 8.
Yes.
Give it to the current state of the economy.
I'll come back to you.
Yes.
I'll come back to you.
Thank you.
Let's allow him to open up with the discussion so far. Comrade Cosmo, what's your reaction over this?
My brother, thank you so much. You see, I want to talk like the man in the street. First of all, the essence of governance in itself, in its totality, as enshrined in the Constitution, Section 2, is that the government must tackle or is responsible for, or the major thing you do, is the well-being of the people and the security. That should make life better. That's why we have government. And any government that comes and is making life difficult, with due respect, it's a hopeless failure. We don't want to know how. All we want to know is make life better. That's why out of the over 200 million Nigerians, you find yourself there. I did not say you were elected. You find yourself there as the #1 citizen. Before I talk of the palliatives, let's talk of other things. How we got to the level we are that we're talking about palliatives. We are talking of subsidy. What is subsidy? My prof said we all agree subsidy is a scam. I really don't understand that in its totality. Initially, the same group of people who call themselves progressives, where in my own opinion they are retrogressives, said that there was nothing like subsidy at all. Nothing like subsidy at all. As at that time, fuel, for crying out loud, was less than 80 naira, 80 kobo, so to say. They shouted, the man reduced it to 87 kobo, not up to 100 naira. It was still Nigeria. Now, the same people grabbed power, whichever way they grabbed power. Fuel is now over 600 naira. And it is now they know that there's subsidy and they want to remove subsidy. When we are talking of subsidy or no subsidy, we are talking about palliatives. Why should they be palliatives? When you can't repair the refineries and subsidy, issue of subsidy naturally dies. Naturally, you just fizzle out. Fix the refineries. If you are having your crude, which is a natural gift, you don't buy it. You take it, you refine in the same country. Of course, the pump price will be very low, very cheap for Nigerians. Countries like Dubai, countries like Saudi Arabia, they mainly depend on crude. And with that crude, so many things are subsidized because the crude itself is free. And because of this subsidy, people are living a good life. And somebody will say, I'm not the president, I'm removing subsidy, and then you allow the masses to suffer. What's the essence of you being there as the president? If not for the betterment of the people. If you manage it whichever way you can, like other presidents, other governments have been doing it, and then the refineries are repaired, will we still talk of subsidy removal? In itself, it will go. We also not talk of palliative. Now you say you are giving people 8,000 naira. Meanwhile, you're having an electoral ride of over 120 or over 110 vehicles. These vehicles were filled, these vehicles are manned, and all that. When you have scratch on your body, you are going abroad for treatment. You are talking about palliative of 8,000 naira as a, whatever you call yourself. So you say you should not talk emotions. How do you say you won't bring emotions into issue? When the people who are there, they don't pay for fear, they don't pay for food, they don't pay for accommodation, nothing. As a prof, I know how much they receive. Me, I struggled to survive.
Okay.
So when we are talking, please, you cannot say we should not bring emotions into it.
I believe Professor Gospower will react to that, yes. But let's get your reaction.
Okay, my simple reaction is that when I was tapping rubber in the village and hawking the streets to school, what I eat then is not what I eat now. And if I eat what I eat then now, my stomach will run me. Now, so I end there. So what I was trying to say, Benin will say, normal fiese, all right,
meaning
he who did not clear the bush well will come and meet it during the time of removing storm. So what I'm saying, the Bible made it clear that the poor will always be in our midst. Also, we should take it and know that even in America, in US and Saudi Arabia, they are poor people. And when you look at the head of Saudi Arabia, when he's dining with that royal family, you see the way they live their life and the posh car that they ride. So we should calm down. We should be realistic. Normal fear say, the person that did probably, for some reason, whether spiritual or physical, that did not clear well, and now is removing the storm, should not envy. I don't envy Dangote's child. I tell my children, I educated my soul so well that my first soul wish I was poor, that he may go through what I went through. For the father, it was a great advantage. So what I'm trying to say in essence is this: subsidy is a scam. It has been removed.
Okay.
8,000 or whatever will be the palliative is not salary or what people are living on. Before the palliative, they were living. It's because they have been stifled and they say, okay, palliative means addition. They were living before. Addition. So even staff is giving palliative, when we're giving palliative during COVID, it's palliative. We should go and check the meaning of palliative. We cannot be sharing the country's resources. An economist, if we sit down, oil is not free. The cost of drilling a barrel of oil, you should go and find out. Oil is not free.
The panel will come back to you in as much, you react to that. Just hold, you react to that. The panel will come back to you in as much as you are a computer scientist and you are into servicing, computer servicing.
Yeah, services
computing.
Yes.
Now, there's a whole lot that is needed in terms of you clearing the air, but first of all, let's get your purview. Let's get what you made mention of data, you know, that we can't rely on the data or statistics, you know, by the government. Do you by this mean that the government do not have the data, do not have the tools, you know, to really get to the very poorest of the poor? And again, some have said that this, by the time it gets to when it's being shared, by the time it gets to the levels of the state government, you know, and all that, you know, these monies may get to the cronies of the parties. What do you think about that?
That is not far from the truth. Let me be honest. Number one, it is the duty of government, any sincere and responsible government, to have data of birth, of death, immigration, and what have you. It is the primary duty of government to have those data, including data, you know, for the vulnerable, the poor, even the average, you know, citizen. So that why? This will enable government, you know, to design policies that will affect every strata of people, you know, irrespective of that, you know, their class.
So for now, you think the government does not have it? I'm
not saying there's a data, but the credibility of the data is questionable.
Okay.
Number one, look at the palliative that was shared in the former administration during COVID. What happened? Money were being dished out to people. You know, we have been told that school feeding program, which I know everybody was, you know, they were at home. There was no school at that time. Everybody was asked to sit at home. They said they spent billions. I'm still asking myself, how? Was it on miracle? Is it on unborn children? What happened to them? Down is there. Again, we also have a situation whereby, you know, when they were giving traders money and the rest of that, you know, political, you know, followers, you know, we are largely, you know, giving those, beneficiary. Not that. In this Nigeria, because we lack statistics, all of these problems, you know, we are going to face that. Let me say one thing. Pro said that the margin that palliative, we all know the meaning of palliative, that is an addition. Before the money were added, people were receiving money, like, say, assuming if I were receiving 10,000 naira, you know, before the removal of fuel subsidy. The mere removal of fuel subsidy have eroded my 10,000 naira to just zero. You know, 1,000 naira. Now add the so-called, you know, 8,000 naira, which is coming now. Calculate the rate of inflation on that 8,000 naira. That means what I'm even getting for 8,000 naira, even less than 1,000 naira.
The 8,000 naira is not for you. Don't forget.
The 8,000 naira is not for you. I am speaking for the poor. I didn't say for me.
Okay, because he made an illustration just now.
Yes.
Even the poorest of the poor, they don't enter transport.
Exactly.
They go by foot.
Who said?
For the poorest of the poor.
But they do.
But the poorest of the poor.
Okay, yes.
They go by foot.
I agree with you. If I agree with you, there are two things that the poor of the poor must do. Number one, food.
I think what you should be saying is,
I'm coming.
Other segments of the population should be captured.
Mr. Philip,
I think
that's not the point.
Oh.
And because your question centered on the 8,000 naira. That's why I started my analysis on the basis of that 8,000 naira. I didn't go outside it. What I said the 8,000 naira, the idea or the conception of giving money is a good idea. But what would the 8,000 naira do? I'm an economist. We are interested in marginal addition, marginal benefit. It is on welfare. What are people gain? What are we gain? Like I said in the simple analysis, before the removal of fuel subsidy, somebody was earning 10,000 naira. The mere removal of fuel subsidy, that money had amounted to zero, near zero. That's about.
Don't forget, he also said that the palliative is not meant to cure the problem.
Yeah,
it's just tentative to aid, to kind of alleviate.
Yes.
Why
so
the problem?
We made that. See, we understand that. Okay. It's to alleviate. The three of us steady here. It's to alleviate.
Okay. Why create
my argument remains. Like what he said, if the government has said not to say, okay, even public opinion, the 8,000 naira is even too small. Now they are doing review. If it was not small, they won't do review. Like he said,
review does not to be increased. I'm
coming, sir. Like he said, in terms of the scam, I've argued over and over again in your program. I've argued that fuel subsidy, was hijacked by the few cabals which are also running this government. And the president, maybe, I wouldn't say, maybe lack of, is a political man, and maybe because of party or some other reason or personal reasons, they don't want to tackle the cabal, but rather pushing, the body to the poor masses. The masses have suffered. We've suffered a lot from this government, in the past government. We suffered a lot. The idea of saying, let us be patient. If you scratch, let me see. The idea, gone are the days that the patient dog eat the fattest bone. Who had the flesh? Is it wrong if we too hit the flesh? So nobody should, think of the idea that palliative, if you are giving palliative, give a better palliative. If you are giving a palliative, give a better palliative that will sustain the people. How am I giving for the poor of the poor? Like I said, two major things that the poor of the poor must do. They must eat every day, whether you like it or not. Okay. Number two, they must put on something. They must put on clothes. How much are they selling this, clothes? Okay. As to speak to you. Okay. Let me come back to your question. You asked me a question in terms of data.
Yes.
I'll make my point very clear.
You cleared it.
We lack data. That's number one.
You've said it.
The idea whether this money will go to the political party or whatever, that's not my fear. My fear is that the politicians, they say, we are the process.
All right. Thank you. Hinging it on that, before I come back to you, Professor Kobase, you wanted to say something. You wanted to react. Now, let's look at the challenge where, don't forget we are in Nigeria and anything happens in the country. It's usually where anything that comes out from the political chambers, everything is being misconstrued or is being hijacked, like he said. Now, what is the guarantee that this money will get to the very poorest of the poor?
With due respect, if we want to be sincere with you, before the whole issue of palliative came on board, they have planned to hijack it. I'm telling you the truth. I will talk like a practical Nigerian. The former administration of Buhari said they were going to give money to people, school feeding, this thing. How many people got it?
They spent close to 500 billion
yes.
naira.
Whose states? Did you get it in Edo State? How do you not know that there are no poor people in Edo State? Look, you cannot create problem 100% and pretend to be, solving the problem by way of, or not even solving the problem, pampering the problem by way of palliative. You say palliative is just to aid. Why did you create the problem? If you repair the refineries, would there be the issue at all? Now let me shock you. The problem with Nigeria in itself, that we all know, is corruption, total corruption. And because crude is our main source, everything is centered on crude. Anything that happens to petroleum, the side effect is on every aspect of the economy.
Okay.
Now, a House of Rep member was being interviewed on AIT also, Honorable Sejo Sogu, and he said something. He said that the Navy, because they were asking the rationale for burning those vessels they seized. He said the Navy seized 70 to 75 vessels, and they handed them over to EFCC under the leadership of Magu. And then when they were now trying to, investigate it, they asked Magu, where are these 75 vessels? None was available anymore. And I tell you, that man, I think it's a DIG now or AIG, as the case might be. So, you see, this government, like my brother said, they know what to do.
Okay.
Excuse me, maybe I should learn. They know exactly how to solve this problem. But they are afraid to solve it. They push the pains
to the masses.
All
right, you are a computer scientist. Now, a lot has been said here. He made mention of fixing refineries. Some have also argued that, okay, why don't you, first of all, we know that, yes, the subsidy is a scam. Okay, but what should be done? It's not a situation where you set the cat before the horse. The horse should come before the cat. And so a situation where you are not fixing refineries, you are removing the petrol subsidy, you know, it's not the right way to go. A lot of people have argued that point. And again, we've been, a lot of argument has been on how does the government gather data? You said in the course of your opening that the government should be left alone to determine the very poorest of the poor. Now, again, the masses or the people wouldn't agree with you on that, because we've seen a situation where transparency in governance becomes a challenge in Nigeria. And so if the government is left alone to determine the very poorest of the poor, a lot of things will go wrong. And don't forget again the aspect of the political associates, you know, the bigwigs, you know, that may also, you know, help to discourage the process of trickling down to the very target audience, you know, that should benefit from this scheme. What do you think?
No,
is that not worries that we should also wrap our heads around to solve?
It is not true. Removing subsidy is actually putting the horse before the cart. Because as oil increases in international markets, the cost and money Nigeria pays for subsidy now even outweigh the oil we sell because of our population size, and we're feeding neighboring countries with our fuel subsidy. So
you should come first before fixing refineries? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
You should come first
at the time
before fixing refineries?
Came in, yes.
Okay.
Because
You still have the floor, but just for you to be guided.
Okay.
Now, we talk about deregulation of the downstream sector.
Yes.
Do you see this as a proper way of deregulating, where a particular body seems to be the determining factor of the price of petrol?
No, one body.
How are the marketers accessing the dollars, for instance, you know, to get this imported product to the country? Don't you think again that alone is another challenge that seems like a scam? Because he also mentioned the aspect of corruption, which needs to be tackled at that end.
The independent marketers now even sell oil fuel cheaper than NNPC, and that is a plus, and that is what the regulation is all about. You go and buy 37 people have been issued license now. Let them bring in their fuel. Market is an economist. Market forces will struggle this out, and wherever it stabilizes. You will not go and, somebody will not be selling fuel 400. You will go and buy 600 because it's NNPC. If you are sure the fuel is good and the measure is correct and accurate. So I bought fuel 591, and it's cheaper than what NNPC is probably selling in Benin City. So let us calm down. That is about that. Then, as at the time this government came in, this government is not the government that has been, that made sure that our refinery died. You see, if you go for power, I am happy that they said it was one-time contestant for governorship election. We should look at administration from the holistic perspective. You should understand that the equipment and the knowledge and the technology for these things, we are not the one that creates it. Even to drill the oil from the ground, we don't know how it comes about. It's just there. It's under our ground, but we cannot bring it out. It is the white men that have the technology, the wherewithal to even drill it out. And it costs about $13 to $20 to even bring out also a barrel of oil from the ground. That is that for that. So it is not the money you use to sell oil that is all the money. You have to remove the money you sell. You have to remove the money you sell from the money you use to do all the transaction and business of bringing out the oil. Now, the question is, why did our refinery not work? It is not this government you should ask that question, because the refinery has collapsed. Before even we came into the democracy in 1999 came into, before 1999. Most of our refinery have collapsed before 1999. And that's what led to this subsidy, this oil for importation and all this stuff. So that is the military era. That is where they are not trying to push blame. I'm not a politician that will be pushing blame. But as at the time the government came into being, as at the time this government came into, meaning it is the wood you see in your time you used to cook. So it is, this government came in, the problem, everything was there, and they solved it. And solution is cancer. And that cancer operation is solution. And that solution has immediate pain. And that immediate pain needs to be given a balm. And that balm is why we are here debating. And some people say that there should not be problem at all. But the person will have died soon because of the cancer, and there will be no country called Nigeria. So we should rejoice that the cancer has been surgically removed, and endure this temporary pain. It's not people the masses. Who told you that big men are the one that are suffering? Now, all those that are big jeep, they are not buying fuel for them. They're not buying fuel for them. It's not a company that has only one car.
They are buying fuel for them.
They are buying fuel for them.
But don't forget that some government functionaries don't even pay for fuel.
It is their office. It is their office.
So are you considering that?
No.
Because the president has said that he feels the pain of Nigerians.
He does.
But he doesn't buy fuel.
No, he
doesn't buy food.
Because the reality is this.
Doesn't pay for house.
Even if he was not president, let us be sincere. If we are joking, we should say the truth. Even if he was not president, he can buy as many fuel as he wants to buy. We should say the truth. If Governor Obaseki was not governor of Edo State, he can buy fuel as what he wants to buy. So we should not think that without is our... You see, I always sometimes protect these politicians because we Nigerians are more corrupt than the politicians in the way we do our things. Is it in the university? Is it among the police force? Is it among in the marketplace? They use half cup to measure for you? Where? So we should calm down and be...
Nigerians are more corrupt than politicians. Are politicians not Nigerians?
Yes. Nigerians that are accusing the masses that are accusing the politicians of corruption. They are even worse because if you look at their level, the office where they operate, they don't clean that office.
Okay, you still have the floor. Yes. Now, for us to elucidate this concept properly, let's look at the aspect because I may mention the fact that the president said he feels our pains.
Yes.
And he doesn't buy fuel. And you may mention the fact that, even if he's not the president, he can buy.
Yeah.
And you also said about the governor. If he's not the governor, he can buy.
So you don't say it's
but the reason I'm saying this is, let's look at the way we can, sacrifice. Should sacrifice be at the point of the masses? Shouldn't it also be at the point of the leaders? Because we hear about, at the same time, we spoke off air, and we should speak about it on air.
Yes.
We hear about, at the same time, where the palliatives, will be given to the very poorest of the poor. At the same time, when we are still struggling with the means to survive, as a country, 70 billion naira is being allotted to the National Assembly for their working condition. Who does that in a sane society?
Now, the society is sane. Nigeria is a sane society, and the society is sane. I'm not part of those that will share the money. But I tell you, if I win election today to be a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and you give me the room where the person from Edo State, South State, I will not sleep on the bed because I'm very spiritual. Even when I travel, I go with a special cloth. I used to cover the bed in the hotel before I sleep. So let us calm down.
Can't the politicians offer that? Can't the politicians sacrifice that? What does it take to get a bed spread?
No, what I'm saying,
what does it take to change a mattress? For instance, what does it take to change your beddings?
It is easy to criticize.
Shouldn't that be sacrificed by the politicians?
There is budget for to be renovated.
Okay.
There's budget for National Assembly, all those things to be renovated.
Okay, but this is a time of exigency. Shouldn't there be a time where the budget can be suspended while such money is spent for another emergency issues?
What are the
masses? Reconstruction of the roads, rehabilitation of the roads.
Who told us? Who told us that roads are not being constructed?
Oh, really?
Who told us that road maintenance has been suspended? Who said that roads are not being built? See, we should not criticize without looking at everything. Roads will continually be built and they will always be built. But National Assembly building will regularly be maintained and they will always be maintained.
We saw reports where about 4,300 something figures were peddled on air of death rates, in period of 6 months on Nigerian roads.
Yes.
Isn't that scary?
Of course,
and if you say that we have, although we know that such factors could also be attributed to bad driving, bad vehicles, but a lot is also attributed to the bad roads.
Yeah, but some are attributed to bad roads. But the people that are complaining, like out of 3 of us here, I'm sure that 2 of us at least are working for federal government, and the people that are in NEMA, that are supposed to maintain that, there's budget for NEMA on an annual basis. They will also come on here and criticize the same government, but they will based on that money and eat the money. Let us calm down. Some of us are lecturers. We are complaining about government, blah, 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 this thing. But if you go to what we do in the university, sometimes you will weep and mourn. You will cry and weep for the country. So let us calm down. When you go to the marketplace, you will see how people use half cup to sell rice. Let us calm down. What I am saying is, my king, like the Oba of Benin, Oba talked about, he said, I better wear rag for my king to wear rag. It is a honor for them to be a senator, and they should be so treated. If they now choose to say, okay, I will not take the money, they can take the money and let them bring their share home to their districts. If they are so good, across parties, and say, they gave me money to buy a car. I know I have a day, I have charm. If you shoot me, I will not die. I don't need the bulletproof car. You see, by them winning the position, they are already exposed to risk I am not exposed to. People will want them dead. Like this, some people are already angry against them 70 billion. They will think that they are giving one person 70 billion. Like my father, before he died, may so rest in peace, think I was receiving 2 million, 1.5 million as a professor. Until I gave him my pay slip. And he was shocked. So we should calm down. And so that the way we judge is how we will be judged.
All right. There is need for us to have a lean government in terms of running cost of governance. A lot has been said in this direction, and they've always said that sacrifice should be from a two-way end, not from one end. Some are saying that the masses, the sacrifice that the government demands the masses to take are too much, as compared to the sacrifices that the leaders are not taking in terms of reducing their emoluments, in terms of huge, humongous amounts allocated to running their offices. What do you take in this direction? Do you see this as a right thing to do in terms of reducing cost of governance, or how do we capture this?
Mr. Philip, it saddened my heart that sometimes when I hear some certain things, I'm pained. The idea of reducing costs of governance, I think that idea even came up before now. That debate has been on for a very long time on the basis of what these politicians or public officers, what they received as a monument. My prof just made mention of corruption in the university, corruption in the marketplace, corruption in the police force, and all of that. I think if people are better, are paid to an extent, although I'm not saying that some people corruption is better than average human mind. If some persons are better paid, corruption in a way would have been
minimized.
Minimized, I'm telling you. Now, let me also shock you. He said that the individuals, we are more corrupt than the politicians.
So corrupt.
What? So corrupt. Thank you, sir.
Than the so-called politicians.
Politicians, fine. Sir, it will interest you to know the so-called politicians, our senators, members of the reps, they are receiving millions. Their allowances in millions. 32 inches televisions were removed from the office where they were living. No single furniture in the office. No computers. This administration is coming on board now to replace those things. Mr. Philip, who is more corrupt? This is just a mere example I give. What would a politician, what would we expect a senator to do with 32 inches television? I'm asking you a question. Or to do with a furniture that he has used. They removed all that. That will show the greediness in terms of. See, like I said, I'm not making an excuse for anybody. They said we should bear the body for a very long time. Now, before somebody undergoes a surgical operation, I have done one. You'll be given anesthesia, whereby to calm down the pains. Before, what did I say before? What did this government do to ameliorate the pain of people before removing, fuel subsidy? Now, fuel subsidy has been removed. They said it's a scam. Before I finish my analysis, let me quickly remind us that NAPC had a deal, swap deal, crude for refined petrol or what have you. There was an agreement that started in between 2018 and 2019 to date. No accountability as we speak. What happened? NAPC came back to say, they'll be paying subsidy. Government has not brought in one kobo for the payment of subsidy. Again, in fact, there's a lot of secrecy. In fact, this subsidy stuff has been shared in secrecy. It will interest to know that this same government, the past government, knows everything because they came with a campaign that there was nothing like subsidy. But when they came, the issue of subsidy become something so huge and so big, like a white elephant, that they say they must be removed. I have argued, like I said, if this government, this administration is sincere enough to tackle the scam, the so-called quote, the scam about fuel subsidy, they know who to meet. Not the common masses on the street that they are pushing the burden to. Again, the only thing that is being enjoyed by my grandmother or anybody, even the vulnerable, even the poor of the poor, was the gains from petrol that was being subsidized. There are a lot of people in my village, even when government didn't provide light, we provided generator for ourselves. People who own that generator, whereby the poor masses can at least say, oh, my neighbor, they will see light in their life. But
it's expected that all of this will change with time.
But
now
it's not changing.
Now that the subsidy has been removed, so the monies from the subsidy will be used for development. And it's expected.
Which development?
You wait.
Bro, my bro said it's a shame. And I'll say this loud and clear. For how many years? Look at Abuja Amchu Road. What happened to it? Death trap. Look at the federal road, even here.
Exactly.
How many lives have been lost? In fact, people should now hold our government responsible for the death of a single individual on the road as a result of bad government power, with government failure to renovate or build.
I'll come back to you.
I'll
come back to you. We've had okay. Land in 1 minute.
Okay. Now, in summary, like the question you asked me, the cutting costs is not something we should be debating now at all. It is the paramount thing the government should do. The idea of giving, palliative to themselves by way of like paying themselves money, or in the name of they want to cushion the infection. We should be talking about, part-time legislation, National Assembly, the budget of them is
we're going to be extending the frontiers of this discussion. Just in case you don't know, is this morning on ITV. We'll be taking a short break after we continue with the conversation. Do stay.